Welcome to Tracing Your Family Roots. My name is Arlene Sachs, and I'd like to introduce my guest today. First of all, Daniel Horowitz. He's the genealogy expert for MyHeritage. Welcome. I'm so glad you could come here today.
Thank you very
and
much.
Jim Bartlett, he's an expert on genetic genealogy with the emphasis on DNA segments. So these two gentlemen are going to just take off without my saying too much. Let's start with the MyHeritage. MyHeritage just within the last few years got into genetics, right? So
Yes, MyHeritage is an established company already since 2005, more than 10 years today. And we started as a tool for people to build their family trees. And we added to that later on the records and the matching between the trees and the records. 2016 was actually the time where we decided to jump into this pool of the DNA, and we started by accepting raw data from other companies and offer people matches. And since November 2016, we're now selling the DNA kits for people to do their own testing and their own matches.
So you could say that you're a DNA startup company.
We are indeed a DNA startup, yes.
Okay. And how is that going so far?
Well, very good. We have a very warm welcome from all the users. A lot of people, not 4 million or 3 million people, but have uploaded or bought our kits. But we are growing very fast. And the big advantage of MyHeritage is that because we're a international company, we are having samples from all over the world. And we're growing. Genealogists are getting more and more into the DNA. They are starting to understand how the DNA can help them and try to find their ancestors and their places where they are coming from.
What would you say the mix is on your customer base as opposed to the companies that are based here in the United States that are what would be your mix between the other side of the pond?
We don't have kind of percentages. I can tell you that right now we have 85 million users, and they are literally from every and any country in the world. And if you take probably a 1% or 2% of them doing DNA, that is already a big pond of DNA coming from all over the world.
That's great. I recently uploaded my GEDCOM to MyHeritage, and I have an account there now. And that was largely based on my U.S. colonial American ancestry, and already I'm getting hits and hints and clues from people that I can add to my tree from overseas.
Yeah,
consider to be overseas.
That's what MyHeritage has been specialized in the last 10 years.
Okay.
And so far, people say that we're doing very good on those matches. So everybody should try to upload their GEDCOM or building their family tree from scratch and give it a try.
Okay, well, from my perspective, it's working pretty well on the genealogy side of the business. I haven't tried the DNA yet, but I will soon. Tell me about the DNA. What laboratory or who does the testing, or how do you test?
Let me start by saying that it's a very simple test to take. It's not a spit test like other companies. We're doing a cheek swab, and normally the kid will come with 2 swabs to take one of each other, and it's very recommended not to eat or drink or having nothing in your mouth about an hour before you take the test. So once you swab, you send it to the lab. Our lab is located in Texas. It's US-based lab. And in about 3 to 4 weeks, you should be able to get your results. Basically, the analysis is done based on the raw data that they extract from the DNA. And we match that to other people that have taken the test or upload their results to MyHeritage. And we will show you the person that you match. We will show you the amount of DNA, the percentage of the amount of DNA that you match with that person, what can be the possible relationship between you and the other person. And probably most important than anything, we will give you an option to contact this other person. And in this case, you can have two scenarios. You can have the person that uploaded his own DNA, and then you will be actually contacting the donor of the DNA. Or you may have an admin person that is the genealogist of the family, and he's taking care of collecting all the DNAs and managing all together. So if that is the case, you will still be able to contact him and make sure that you have the answers that the simple DNA cannot give you.
So if I have a kit at MyHeritage, or I submit and get a DNA test, then under my account, do I then upload my brother or my father or somebody else?
Yes, that's how it should work. And you, of course, need to agree to upload the other person's DNA. And if the other person has an account, he will be able to see his results. You, as an admin, will be able to see his results, your results, and all the DNAs that you're uploading. MyHeritage takes very pride on the privacy side. Some people may claim that we're a little bit too strict on the privacy, but we prefer to be on the safe side, and very slowly we are bending and accommodating the privacy rules to still stick with making sure that nobody gets the information from the wrong person.
Okay, good. How many markers or SNPs do you all test?
Well, if I remember correct, it's about 13,000 of SNPs or 7,000 of SNPs, something like that. 700,000, yes.
I think it's 700,000.
Yeah, then the number is huge, and I'm very bad with numbers. But yes, we do, as my understanding, the average or the regular test that all the other companies out there are doing for genealogy purposes.
But you said you had a different way of analyzing it, so that's why you get different results.
Yeah, the lab will give us the raw data, and MyHeritage has developed their own analysis. That is also the explanation why, if you had tested with another company and you upload your raw data into MyHeritage, you will see different results from the other companies, even if you have the same data in the other companies. Because our algorithms, our imputation, our filling the blanks, for whoever doesn't know the imputation system, whoever doesn't know what imputation means, filling the blanks between the different tests that we match, because not every company tests the same snippets, but more or less, 90% of the snippets are the same, and we fill in the blanks and we bring you the matches. So the matches are quite accurate right now, and will show you real relationships.
Now, you mentioned also some numbers, like you only do 0.5, which is a much higher threshold than other companies use, and therefore it looks like you get less, but you're more likely to be accurate.
What we're talking about there is the threshold for creating a match. So you compare the DNA of one person, me or somebody, with all of the matches that are in your database, and a certain amount of it has to match a certain amount of the DNA has to be the same in order to count that as a match.
That's right. Yeah. If you allow me probably to explain our audience a little bit about that, because people think that just because I'm the son of my parents, I inherited all the DNA from them, and that is not true. You're actually having 50% of your DNA matching your parents, and 25% to your grandparents, 12.5% of your great-grandparents, and so on. So the autosomal test, which is the type of the test that MyHeritage does, can go only back up to 7 generations. So yes, the threshold right now is 0.5, meaning that any match that doesn't go over that 0.5 of DNA common, we will not show. And some people get upset because they said, well, but I tested with this other company and I have thousands of matches and you're only showing me 100 or 200 matches. But the answer is very simple. Like, we're showing you the best 100 matches. And as you said before, Jim, you need to contact those people. You need to communicate with them in order to get the answers that you want. I'm pretty sure no one, even you were saying 2 years, 3 years, trying to contact those people, you will very difficult go over 200, 300 matches. What was your experience with that?
Well, I've contacted a lot of matches, and I make presentations on DNA. And the name of the game is to contact your matches. You want to contact your matches and try to determine what the common ancestor is, because the DNA can't tell you that. You have to compare your tree to their tree, and you have to communicate with them. And a lot of people don't do that, and they need to. It's very important to be doing that. And from what you're telling me, if you use a 0.5%, that's roughly equal to about 18 centimorgans, which is another way that we measure the size of a DNA segment. That's a pretty substantial segment. And the good news is that almost everyone that has, or everyone that we've ever found that had an 18 centimorgan match, that's a positive result. We have not found any errors of people that are falsely matched when it's at least 18 centimorgans. Some of the other companies go down to 7 centimorgans or go down to 5 centimorgans, and they have a number of mismatches in there, or things that are false.
And definitely MyHeritage wants to be conservative on that, and
will be. Yeah.
And we don't want to give people false positive.
Right.
So we prefer to restrict that to this higher amount of matches. And actually I have an image, if we can see how MyHeritage displays the matches for the users, and people will see over there the percentage of the match, the threshold, this amount of centimorgans that they are matching all together, and a way to contact also the other person.
Is there some limit to how many matches you'll give people, or just like the top 100 or the top 500?
Not by the number, but the percentage. Like, we give you all the matches that goes over 0.5.
Okay.
So you may have 1,000 matches, you may have 5 matches, depending on, of course, the pool of matches that we have, that it's, again, growing every day. So every week also we run again all the technology behind the scenes for the matches, because new results are coming in. So you may see suddenly a match going up the scale, a match maybe also go down, because the recalculation of the match decided that it's not relevant anymore for you.
This is very good news for MyHeritage customers, because all the matches that they get are going to be good matches and relatively close matches. An 18 centimorgan match is going to be something that's nominally about a 4th cousin. It might be a 5th cousin or a 6th cousin. It could be a 3rd cousin, but it'd be within that range.
Is that going to be for Jewish too?
That definitely is for Jews, and it's very interesting that a lot of people are discovering through their DNA that they do have some traces of Ashkenazi or Sephardic Jewish. And we try to pinpoint the DNA to the right area of it. MyHeritage also started an ethnicity test. We took about 5,000 individuals from specific regions that they have proven in their family trees that for more than 4 or 5 generations they were established in that area. And that is the comparison thread that we have in order to tell you if your DNA matches a certain area. Right now we're working with 36 specific regions. We're going to upload that with this ethnicity, in the ethnicity report, to more than 80 regions with this founders population is how we called this project. And we're going to be able to tell you not only that you have England DNA or Ashkenazi, in the case of the Jewish, but also we're going to tell you that you are a Romanian or Italian.
So
or
if I could
Iberian.
trace my ancestors back to 1700 in Germany, is that far enough?
That would be a little bit farther than what the autosomal DNA can tell you. And the big advantage of the autosomal test for genealogy is that you can actually compare and prove or disprove the paper trail.
Because I've got the paper trail
Exactly.
going back that
So
far.
you
it would
will
help
have
you.
the paper trail up to 7 generations back, and the DNA will confirm that yes, this paper trail is right, and you will not go up to 20 generations back where you will not have any proof, any family tree where to compare the results.
Well, as I indicated before, when I first started with autosomal DNA, I found a lot of common ancestors. In the first 2 years I did that without regard to the DNA. And then when I started analyzing the DNA, I found that about 25% of those were not linked to the DNA.
Okay.
The DNA could not have proved those ancestors were not proved by the DNA because they got different DNA. So the question is then, will we be able to see the DNA link?
MyHeritage is working in more tools to help people understand their DNA, and one of those tools is definitely a chromosome browser. And when you see in the chromosome browser the different areas that you match and you compare to another person, you will be able to see where these matches are coming from, because the autosomal will show indistinctively matches from your father's side, of your mother's side, or any of your 4 grandparents. But if you compare it through the chromosomal browser, you will be able to say, okay, so this match is coming from this side, and you will be able to trace that with the other matches as well.
But you only know that the DNA comes from this side or that side when you have a cousin from that side who
That
also matches.
Yes.
So not all of your cousins will cover all of your DNA.
That's right, and that is why we suggest basically to people 2 very important things. First, to try to get the DNA from the oldest person in the family, and try to get more than 1 sample. People, right now, some people think that just by testing 1 person or testing myself, that is going to reveal everything. And the strong suggestion is, if you want to test yourself, go ahead and find, but try to find other cousins, try to find other relatives from the different branches of your family that will direct you better to the ancestors that you are looking. That is also why MyHeritage gives you a family tree template when you see your DNA, and you will be able to see, because we will tell you that this can be either your 2nd cousin to your 4th cousin twice removed. And you can have option by DNA of having people older than you or younger than you. But if you know that the person that you tested is actually of a certain age, you can eliminate half of the possible results, and you can better track the origin of that DNA that you tested.
I think the key here isn't that it's not going to be as easy as the TV shows always show. You've got to do a lot of work besides it once you get your results.
Yes and no. We have had a lot of success stories. People that were adopted, or they were looking for their parents or some siblings that they know they lost, and we have been able to reconnect those families. But definitely, it's not a magic wand. It's not what the dream of every genealogist that will just upload the DNA and all my family tree is going to be built for me right in front of my eyes. But of course, the more people that test, the more people that goes into this DNA, the better the results, the more accurate are going to get. The technology also is very different from 2008, 2010 when we start testing that today. Also very affordable. I remember paying more than $100 for my first DNA test.
A lot more.
And today you can have it for a little bit more than half of that, like $70, $60, you can do a DNA test, and it's also very easy
Right.
to do.
It's very affordable, and I believe that all genealogists should do that. And I concur with your thought that the older generation should be tested first because they won't be here forever. And they are also closer to the ancestors. So they will have more of your ancestors' DNA in the older generation. And testing cousins is also very important, particularly if you don't have your grandparents still around, because they will form these links that tell you which side of your DNA it's on.
I think it helps if you have a large family.
Well, I don't know. If you have a large family, probably you're saying, okay, I don't need to do the DNA because, we're a large family, we already know each other. And in fact, I have been hearing in the different conferences and my contact with the users that people with smaller families are actually more eager to do the DNA test because they are looking for the big families. The big families don't want to have more relatives. They have enough. Don't bring me more. More
There's
members.
only one cousin that I've been in touch with in 50 years. I have nothing. I haven't seen my second cousins since I got married, really.
Well, since I've been doing DNA, I've met a lot of my cousins, and it's a real treat to meet them. I go to a conference, I give a talk, and people will say, "Oh, I'm your cousin." You match.
See, I only have 7.
I've had several real adventures doing that. Talk a little bit about your ethnicity program.
Right now, you are getting the ethnicity both if you take the DNA test or if you upload from a different vendor, if you upload your raw DNA. As I said, is based on this project that we have, a founders population, and it's still in beta because we are improving it. We recently announced that Dr. Yaniv Ehrlich is coming aboard on MyHeritage DNA team, and the idea is to make it as accurate as possible. And this is what is giving people the surprise, because you may see white people, black people, Chinese people, and then when you analyze their DNA, they're finding that their ancestors came from countries and places that they were never thought about it. In fact, one of our famous cases may be the rapper Prince EA, and he has a video where he advocates for humanity and better understanding each other. And he did the test with MyHeritage, and he was astonished with the results, suddenly finding that he has ancestors coming from Europe, from Finland, from Norwegia. And he says that we should all do the DNA test, and we should all understand better where our origins are in order to be able to be friendly or more understandable with other human beings.
This whole idea of the admixture and where your DNA came from is an evolving concept for using the autosomal DNA. And I know in my own case, my brother and I, when you look at our 2 ethnicity reports, you would swear we're not brothers because they're different. So I'm anxious to see new companies getting involved in this and how their results come out.
I think it's
There's
just
a lot of
in
controversy
the
about it.
I mean, you're using the same chip, so it's the way the analysis is getting better of being able to.
It's the comparison with
Yeah,
the reference populations and
Yeah.
how you determine the reference
I
population.
love to use the analogy that I heard from a friend of mine that the DNA is like a pot of soup. Like whenever you scoop something out, you will get all the components of the soup, but not exactly the same scoop twice. So this is also for human beings. Like I do inherit the DNA from my parents, but it will be impossible to have exactly the same DNA that my brother or my sibling is
Or
having.
any of your
Or
ancestors.
any of
You're
my
getting
ancestors.
4, 5, and 6,
Yes.
and he's getting 1, 2, 3, and therefore you don't look like
Yeah, it will have to be, and I think that not even identical twins have identical DNA, like a
I've
very
heard
special
that, but at
person.
what point does that change? Or do you understand any
it
of that?
will depend on the biology of how those two siblings cellulose were created. Yeah,
We've
that's
just
the
got
beginning.
2 minutes left. Is there something else that you want to say about the DNA that you're doing that we didn't get around to talking about?
Definitely want to encourage everybody to do the DNA test and to find the matches and to contact the matches, probably the most important thing. Even if you think or you have been told that that is not a close match, you may have an ancestor in common, you may have different research from the different people that you can overlap and you can discover more relative, more records, and your ancestors right there.
And your webpage is myheritage.dna?
MyHeritageDNA.com.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
it's one,
the
one thing.
MyHeritageDNA.com page.
And we'll talk a little bit on another show about your web page and about the company
other features that we offer.
In general. But we do have another minute. Anything else about the DNA
Well,
that you want to ask?
I would just like to commend MyHeritage for getting into this, and particularly into linking the DNA with the trees, because you have a very good reputation for your trees, and now getting into DNA will link these trees, which go back a ways, and have European ancestry, a lot of that in there that we don't typically get with the U.S. companies. So that's a very good feature there. Does the DNA actually show up as a link on there?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, we show you the relationship and we try to show you the relationship on the tree because we are testing and we are uploading individuals' DNA that most of them are in your DNA and your family tree. So that definitely is an advantage.
Great.
Okay.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Daniel and Jim, both of you. I appreciate you both coming because I can follow what you're saying, but I wouldn't even know enough to ask some of the questions. So thank you.